star at TNT. And we love talking to him. It's Charles, and again, he is the 75 greatest players in NBA history, and he's probably top 20 greatest player of all time. Our friend Charles Barkley joining us on Waddle and Silvy. Chuck, how you feeling today?
Man, I'm good. How you guys doing? I miss talking to you. I've been crazy getting all my stuff out the way for March Madness, so I've been busy, but now things are starting to get serious.
Oh, yes. And Charles, where do you rank yourself in the top 75? Where does Charles Barkley put Charles Barkley?
Oh, man, I don't even rank myself. I mean, I know I was a hell of a player, but listen, it's all subjective. I mean, people forget how, they don't even mention it when they're talking about greatest players ever. They always forget about Kareem and guys like that. I mean, Michael's my GOAT. And listen, as much as I love LeBron, I think I still had Kobe above him, and people go crazy when I say that. So it's really, to me, it's just a personal preference. I mean, LeBron is great, but everybody who's been born in the last 25 years, they think he's better than Michael, which I disagree with.
As long as we put you in front of Pip, you're good, right? Like right in front of Pip?
Oh, yeah. Trust me. Trust me. I'm good there.
Okay. So we can agree on that.
Yeah, listen, we definitely agree on that one, brother.
I was really mad, and I'm a Pip guy. I love Scotty. I'm a Bulls fan, as you know. But I had a rant last week. He wants recognition. He wants credibility, and he's named to the All-75 team, and then he doesn't show up. Did that bug you?
Well, it bugged me because I didn't realize how emotional I was going to get. And I think because, the last time we did the 50, there was only one guy who had passed away, and that was Pete Maravich. And so I saw 49 of those guys. But this time, a bunch of guys had passed away. And I think in my mind, one of the reasons I got emotional, I was looking at some of the older guys. I'm thinking this is probably the last time, all the guys who did all the heavy lifting to make me successful, this is probably the last time I'm going to see those guys in my life. And I spent a lot of time with Oscar Robertson because we always spend time together. I was talking to Jerry Lucas. I spent some time with Kareem because, listen, those guys, it's probably the last time, you just never know. But those guys they're way up there in age. And I think Scotty, Larry Bird, Karl Malone, Scotty, Tim Duncan, I think those are the only guys who didn't show. I mean, Michael was at the Daytona 500 and he got there.
Right. Because
I could.
Go ahead.
I could. Listen. Owning a NASCAR team is a good damn reason because you're at the Daytona 500. That's a good excuse. Just because you just didn't want to come, that's not a great excuse. But if a guy owns a NASCAR, say at the Daytona 500, and he still gets there in time, everybody else who was sitting home could have actually got there.
And do you think it was because Scotty threw so much shade in the book, like we've talked about with you, that he didn't want to face the music? It was like one of these Twitter guys, and why you're not on social media, who sit there and they type and they rip you behind the scenes, but they would never say that to your face. Do you think there was an element in why Scotty didn't show up?
I don't know. Listen, first of all, the only person who's gonna be pissed is Michael. I mean, because some of the stuff he said about Michael was really unfortunate.
Right.
I mean, calling me a fake tough guy. I mean, dude, first of all, I don't even think I'm a tough guy. I know I'm tougher than his soft ass, but I'm not going to get mad because somebody called me soft. And I think he said some things about fear, but I think the stuff he said about Michael so that's probably why he didn't show up. I don't know that, but that's probably why.
Chuck, did you spend any time with Mike?
I did not. No. We were never in the same room. You got to remember, I was working now.
Right.
Well, first of all, because, Michael actually, I will admit, he kind of surprised everybody because when we all got together to take the picture before, he wasn't there. So, and then we didn't know he had came until he came out. And it kind of shocked all of us. And we were all excited to have him there because, the NBA wouldn't be what it was today without him. But when we all got together beforehand, we took a picture. What was really cool and amazing, Michael wasn't there. He hadn't got in from Daytona yet. We assumed he wasn't coming.
Chuck, from our couches, we watch that and we're just mesmerized by it all. And we're excited to watch Michael show up. Does he carry kind of the same panache with all of these great players as well? Like, is he the guy that walks into the room and even greats like yourself and Oscar Robertson and Kareem and everyone else, their eyes immediately go to him?
Yeah, I mean, because I think that you'd have to be foolish because, everybody talk about what a great player was. We know that. But you think about this. No guys were making commercials. No guys were selling shoes until Michael. I mean, when you talk about all this GOAT stuff, you have to talk about, like, man, nobody was making commercials before Michael Jordan. I mean, I think Arnold Palmer and Jack Nicholson, I think Larry Bird and Magic had that Converse. But as far as making commercials for every product, Michael started all that. And you think about it, you got guys like Kobe and LeBron who make $100 million a year now because Michael started selling shoes. So you have to factor all that stuff in, that all because of Michael Jordan when you talk about the GOAT stuff. So I think that's really the reason guys have respect, and you have to respect him because, like I say, he's the reason I make money. I mean, he took Nike to a whole nother level, and obviously Kobe and LeBron benefited from it today. But like, guys wasn't making $50 to $100 million before Michael came to the NBA, but with Nike.
Charles Barkley joining us. It's Waddle and Silvy on ESPN 1000. You mentioned Oscar, the Big O. Is there anybody else that like you gravitate to or that you like to see, whether it's from your era, from the modern era, or from before you?
Well, actually, it's so funny you said it because I thought it was cool when some of the young guys came up and talking to us, like Giannis, LeBron, Dame Lillard. Those three in particular came up, and it was cool because, like I say, I'd seen all the older guys at the first picture, but you can't tell the NBA story without LeBron. And by the time Giannis finished, he gonna be up there with on that. He gonna say, like, if he win another 2 or 3 championships the way he plays, I mean, think about it, this dude's only 25 years old.
I know.
I mean, he could win. He could win another 2 or 3 championships, and he's gonna get 30 points a year because he's so unbelievable. So just seeing some of the young guys, I'm trying to think. So Giannis, LeBron, Dame. That's probably a couple more. I just can't remember, but I did get emotional when I was standing out on stage and they started naming everybody. And I said it on the show. I said, wow. And Chuck said it too. He said, I got to agree with Chuck. I didn't think I was, because Shaq, this dude got the emotion, the sensitivity of a flea.
Right. That's why it surprised me, Chuck. He totally took me by surprise.
He caught me because Ernie asked me. I said, "Yo, man, I got welled up a couple times." And then one thing really cool because one of the guys I've always loved, and for some reason we hit it off, is Dennis. Dennis came around the stage and gave me one of the biggest hugs, and it was really cool because for some reason me and Dennis have a great connection. I saw him in Vegas at the match, and for some reason, man, we just have a lot of love and respect for each other. And when he came all the way, because he was away on the other side of the stage, and when they were introducing, I forget who they were introducing at the time, might have been the guards or something. He came around and gave me a hug and spent a couple of minutes with me, and I always look forward to seeing him because that's the kind of respect I got for him.
That's great.
Is there any player that didn't make that top 75 that you think should have, Chuck?
I think it's too close to call, to be honest with you. Because you look at Dwight Howard, Tracy McGrady. I'm trying to think, because there's a couple guys who do have an argument, but it's all subjective.
Right.
I mean, like I say, listen, you got to listen. Listen. I'm a Bernard King guy. I love Bernard King. If Bernard King played today, that little ACL. Remember when he played? Nobody had ever came back from an ACL before. And he went in the gym 6-7 hours a day by himself and rebuilt his entire body and came back in his entire leg. And they said, well, your career is over. And he didn't believe it. And he's the only person who ever came back from an ACL. And now a guy get an ACL, he play like another 10, 15 years.
Right. And sometimes just as well athletically. Charles Barkley joining us on Waddle and Silvy. It's ESPN 1000. Why don't we just do this every year for A, because you then get to see these guys and you don't have to worry about if you're going to see them ever again in your life. And then maybe we could just replace those slam dunk contests with this every year at halftime.
I actually think that's actually not a bad idea to not introduce the guys. Well, you can introduce the guy, but come up with something. Because I always tell people, I never worry about the All-Star game sucking, because to me, because listen, I've said it and people said, are you serious? I said, yeah, man, I was out there just to break a sweat. My obligations was to the Philadelphia 76ers and the Phoenix Suns. The last thing I want to do is go out there and kill myself and hurt something and ruin my career and ruin my season. I was just out there trying to break a sweat. Because, the only difference is you get $25,000 if you win and $20,000 if you lose. I'm not going to go out there and kill myself over $5,000, And so I was just out there to break a sweat. I was blessed to play in the All-Star game 11 times. I got MVP one year because I got a lot of rebounds. I think I had 17 points and 20 rebounds, and nobody played like crazy that day getting 40 or 50 points. So I got the MVP, but I was like, hey, man, let me get some rebounds and have some fun. I don't want to get hurt out here. But I never worry about how good, because it seemed like the Pro Bowl, you can't play a real football game at the Pro Bowl. I like the way they put some talent things out there, but I think one thing we got to do for sure is we got to make sure the three-point shoot contest is the last event, because it's always exciting. I mean, the dunk contest just sucked this year, plain and simple.
It's terrible. Yeah, it's not entertaining anymore.
It's not, especially with the guys they have. I mean, if those guys can walk down the street and nobody bother them, I mean, that's never a good thing.
Right.
Good point. Hey, Charles, how about our Bulls? I know you were very excited about what they did in the offseason, putting that team together with AK and Billy Donovan running things from the bench. How do you feel about them right now?
Man, I feel bad for them because first of all, what Billy and DeMar and Levine is doing is incredible. But no team has lost more good players to injuries than your team. I mean, it really sucks, all the injuries you guys have had. I mean, if you guys were healthy, y'all probably would have a 5 or 6 game lead in the Eastern Conference. And I don't know the situation is when everybody's coming back, but man, y'all have had an incredible, amazing season, but the injuries have just flat out hurt. Yeah. I mean, the injuries have just flat out hurt your team.
Levine says he's at 70 or 80% because of his knee. Now, Lonzo Ball is supposed to come back here before the end of the regular season. Caruso is expected back in the next week or two. Patrick Williams, their young power forward who started the year as their starter, is expected to come back in a week or two. Do you think if they are healthy, they're a contender?
Well, it just depends, because what's going to be scary is who are they going to play? Because, number one, ain't nobody want to play Brooklyn. When those guys get healthy, they're going to be flat out scary. And I don't think you want to play the 76ers right now because they're probably the hottest team in the league. Obviously, they still on the honeymoon stage. They ain't played anybody. They played the Knicks and Minnesota, so they haven't played anybody. So I'm not going to overreact to them having 3 straight blowouts. But I don't know where the Bulls are going to finish. They might play Brooklyn or Philly in the first round, and that would be really unfair because, they've had such a really good season. But like I said, the only thing that matters for the next 2 months, guys, is what's going on in Brooklyn and what's going on in Philly, because both of those teams are must-watch television, because I got no idea what's going to happen. It's worked the first 3 games with Embiid and James, but I don't know how it's going to work in 6 weeks. everything. I always tell people this. It's kind of like when you ever see those teams when they fire the coach, they go on like a 2 or 3 game winning streak,
Right.
because everybody is like, well, they fired the coach, we better pick it up. And then like a month later, they're back like, well, that's the reason our coach got fired. We suck. But I don't know what's going to happen in the East. It's going to be fun to watch because, listen, if you guys get everybody healthy, y'all can play with anybody.
What do you make of what you've seen from DeMar DeRozan this year? Were you expecting this? Nobody
was expecting it. I've said he should be second in the MVP voting right now to Joel. Nobody saw this coming. It's probably, obviously I'm talking off the top of my head, probably the best free agent signing maybe in NBA history.
Whoa.
Think about it. This team they were awful last year. Awful.
Man, LeBron was a free agent though in Miami.
Yeah, that's not the same kind of thing though.
That's separate.
Yeah. But like I'm talking about, if you sign, like, this is one of the greatest signings in the NBA history. But this team, like I say, can you imagine how good they would be if they were healthy?
I know.
I mean, they're at the top of the East with all their good players, not all their good players, obviously, but some of their best players out for long periods of time.
Well, and let me ask you about one of them, and that's Caruso. And the Lakers would love Caruso. I know the Lakers would love DeMar too. They were interested in him. But Caruso's one of those glue guys. He does what a lot of their guys can't do, and that's defend the perimeter. And he was just coming back from an injury. I was sitting with my kids in Milwaukee, Chuck, when he went to the hoop, and then there was Grayson Allen, who took him down, and he broke his wrist. And it's the reason why he's still out to this day. Milwaukee's in town tomorrow. Do you do anything if you're the Bulls to Grayson Allen?
No, I'll say this. I thought that was a little unfair on Grayson Allen. I think it just was really unfortunate that, Caruso got hurt. I don't think he intentionally tried to hurt Caruso, but I think he got such a bad backlash because of what happened at Duke. I mean, the kid's really been a model citizen in the NBA. And like I say, it's just a really fluky thing that Caruso got hurt. So I hope nobody overreacts. So like I say, I don't know Grayson Allen. I've never met him, but I don't think he delivered. First of all, I know that. I'm just talking out of my ass, but I know he did not. I know he didn't deliberately try to hurt Caruso. It's just the way he fell. And I keep telling these guys.
Watch the second arm, though, Chuck. Like, he follows through. He hit him first, and then he follows through with a second arm that just completely pulls him down.
Maybe 23-year-old Chuck would think differently back in the day.
You would be throwing some bows tomorrow.
No. Let me tell you something. I'm pretty sure he tried to make sure he didn't make the shot, but I don't think he tried to hurt him. That's my point. I believe he deliberately tried to hit him. Obviously, you're an idiot if you don't think he deliberately tried to hit him. But I think, and I think he did follow through. But his intention was not to hurt him. Is all I'm saying.
Wilbon, your good friend, who you were just with not too long ago, Wilbon called him a thug on the air. Grayson Allen.
Well, listen, if you do anything to anybody in Chicago, you're a thug. Hey, let me tell you something. That's one thing that I'm sure about Wilbon is my mentor. I love him like an older brother. Listen, let me tell you something. If I hit David Flom, Wilbon would call me a thug.
You wouldn't hit David Flom.
Well, after dinner I would.
With a cigar, maybe.
Yes.
Life has changed, though, in the NBA, hasn't it? I mean, drastically. In 2022, what would be considered a hard foul is entirely different. If I put on a video of the hardest fouls of 25 years ago, you're in it a couple of times. But the reality is what you guys were able to do was just significantly different than what transpires today.
And see, that's my biggest gripe with the GOAT stuff. Listen, I don't argue with people. I say, if you go back, that was one cool thing about the Last Dance. The amount of abuse that Michael took before he didn't try to go join a super team. He just kept getting better and better and better. So to take that type of physical abuse, I think you have to give him brownie points. You know, he didn't go, and like I say, I'm not hating on LeBron. He's amazing. He's amazing. But Michael didn't go and say, hey, let's all get together. He just like, no, we got to get better. Because if you look at Michael's body, there's no doubt in my mind. You go back and look when he first got to the NBA or he first started playing against the Bulls, there's no doubt in my mind he gained 15, 20 pounds of just muscle. I mean, look at his body early in his career. He was skinny. And by the time he got in the middle of the Bulls, he had like a perfect body.
Yeah.
And that's why I give him the edge over LeBron. Like, number one, not joining a super team, but also you have to factor in the amount of abuse that he took, but the quote unquote the Jordan rules.
All right, hang in there. There's a lot we want to get with you. We want to find out if Tom Brady's really retired. I bet you got a theory on that. Some other stuff we want to bring up that's fun. Charles Barkley, our great friend, the Hall of Famer, continues to join Waddle and Silvy next. We were joking that Chuck got a little caught in hyperbole with the DeMar stuff.
We've been caught with the same enthusiasm based on what we've seen.
But Carmen's really upset. He's like, LeBron, Kevin Durant, Shaq, all that. DeMar was a sign and trade too. Chuck will join us here, continue to join us here in a minute. He's back in the Hall of Famer, TNT. Got a doubleheader tonight. It's Waddle and Silvy. Do you believe, and you know Tom Brady well, do you believe he's really retired?
You know, that's an interesting question. It's kind of like people talked him into retiring. Because, like, when you hear him talk, it's like all the things came out about, well, Tom's going to retire. And then I think he kind of just like, well, they telling me I should retire. Because he played well enough to keep playing.
Oh, yeah.
So now if he want to retire with some left in the tank, that's fine too. But I think you should play as long as you can play well. That's my personal opinion. I played probably 2 years too long because I sucked my last couple of years. But if I had to play, because I kept trying to have a good year, but Tom has earned the right. He's the greatest football player ever. And listen, he played well, man. I mean, he probably, I don't know the numbers, but he probably came in second to MVP.
Yep.
You know, I mean, so listen, man, you can always be around the house and you can do that stuff. You only get to play sports a very small window. As long as you're playing well, I tell people keep playing.
Maybe he was around the house for like 4 or 5 weeks and decided this ain't for me. I need to get back to playing.
Yeah. You know, he's been at home like 5 weeks. Yeah. He's like,
that's it.
Oh, this ain't much fun as I thought it was going to be.
What do you when you finally retired, Charles? What did you miss most about the game?
Just being around the guys. Ain't nothing like being around the guys, but also like when it's a big game and everybody's excited, the city is on fire. In game 57, you don't really care. You're like, man, I'm tired. Can we get to the playoffs? But when you get to the playoffs and every game is like, I love my job, but if we don't win, my season going to be over. That is when it's really cool. That's when it's really cool. There's nothing like big games, but being around the guys talking trash, that's a really fun time too. Well, you know, when we take the bus or you take the train in Philly sometimes, or you go on one of those long West Coast trips for like 4 or 5 hours, there's nothing like that being around the guys.
But go on record. I mean, do you think Tom Brady will play in the NFL next year?
I don't think so because I don't think Tampa Bay is made enough to make him want to come back. No, I don't think Tom is going to be a mercenary. Like, he picked the perfect situation to win the Super Bowl. They had a great running back, great defense, great wide receivers. But, Godwin got hurt, so they haven't re-signed him. They got a bunch of free agents on that defense. So I think I'm going to be watching when it's time to make some trades and deals, because I know he ain't going to come back on no bad team. That makes zero sense whatsoever.
What about San Francisco? What about the 49ers?
Oh, I listen, man. That boy can call some plays out there. I mean,
yes.
Yeah. Hey, why does everybody hate Jimmy Garoppolo?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's the hate may be a little too strong. Jimmy has a tendency, Chuck, to throw it to the other team a little more frequently than I think some people like. But he's had a good run, and he hasn't been able to stay healthy. That's the other thing that there's been a knock against him.
And the safety, the health is a fair question, but man, he sure damn wins a lot for people not to like him.
Yeah, no, he does. Hey, Charles.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish your thought.
I said, the injury thing is fair, but man, when he's healthy, his teams are always winning. I mean, they were that close to getting to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. It's a good team.
Again.
Yeah, that's a good team, and they're very well coached. Speaking of retiring, I know that you mentioned a while ago that maybe it'd be a couple years and then you were going to call it quits. Do you still feel that way? And when you see Troy Aikman and Tony Romo sign contracts for like $18, $19 million a year, you're like, no, I'm not getting off this desk, or I'm not quitting this, or maybe I want some of that.
That's the big question that I've been asked a lot lately. My plan, well, first of all, they haven't offered me that much money. So hey, listen, that'd be a totally different conversation. If somebody offered you $18, $19 million a year, I mean, you'd have to be a fool to turn that down. But listen, right now I got 2 years left on my deal, and my plan is to retire after that. That'll be 23 years, man. Wow. I'll be 61 years old. I turned 59 last week. So I don't want to spend I'm small enough to know I ain't going to live to be 100. I don't want to be dying sitting next to Ernie and Kenny and Shaq.
You're far from that, though. I bet you re-up at least one more time. I think the money's going to be too good to turn down.
$18 million a year, Chuck. 5 years.
Hey, let me tell you something. I played in the NBA for 16 years, and I've been on TV for 21 years. If I ain't got enough money by now, I'm the dumbest asshole in the world.
Chuck, there's no such thing as enough money.
No, let me tell you something. Seriously. Hey, 16 years in the NBA, 21 on television, and it'll be 23 by then. If I don't have enough money by then, I got to be the biggest fool in the history of civilization.
Is Draymond the next you on TV, or do you take offense to that?
I like Draymond. I do. I think he was a great addition to our team. But I don't think we know how anybody is going to do. You know what's so funny about that? We got two networks. We got NBA TV. And they're in the same studio as us. So not that you see them, we have 2 or 3 NBA players in every week. And what's really funny, especially during the playoffs, we have probably 10 to 15 guys in because they're on 24/7, so they break it up a lot. And they always ask us, what do you think of this guy? I say, this guy's a great guy. He's going to be great. He's going to be great. But for some reason, guys who I like, who are friends of mine, for some reason, when they get on television, they just suck at it.
Give me one name.
No, I'm not going to throw anybody under the I'm not going to. No, but I'm telling you, it's really weird how some guys, when they get in for when they throw those lights on, they just freeze up and can't yo, man, just have fun. We're talking about basketball. We're not saving the world.
Right.
And for some reason, they tell me, they're well, this didn't work out. He's not coming back anymore. Like I said, we hang out with these guys all night and we're having fun, and then they get on camera. We're not watching because we're in the other studio. And then our boss will come back and say, yeah, the guy you told us is going to be great on TV, he's awful. He sucks. And I said, he's a great guy. And they tell me this to Charles, everybody just, when the bright lights come on, everybody doesn't react the same. And that's crazy.
Yeah. And you've always been a natural. I want to ask you, we asked you about Brady. Is Aaron Rodgers selfish for taking this long?
I said this about Aaron Rodgers. I think he's the pretty girl that you got to tell her she's pretty every day. Or I'm starting to think that. I'm starting to think he's that girl like, oh, I don't look good today. Like, I told you 5 days in a row you look good. I got to tell you every day, apparently.
And she does look good. I mean, using this analogy, like he's still as good as there is in the league.
Yeah, but we shouldn't have to tell him
That's
that every
true.
day. Yeah, so I'm starting to wonder because, he has to figure out, first of all, you know what I don't understand about these quarterbacks? Why are they such greedy pigs? No, seriously, I'm being serious for a second. Every quarterback who's gotten big money never won again. I never understood. You go Flacco, you go Russell, you go Aaron first time. You go Drew Brees. Dak Prescott's going to be in that boat soon. You go Matt Ryan's in that same boat. Why don't these guys take less money like Tom Brady so you can pay other players? Every player, you go back and look at the last 10 to 15 quarterbacks, with the exception of Tom Brady, how many they all became the quote unquote the highest paid player. And I'm saying, like, dude, ain't no difference between $35 and $40 million because you're gonna make it up in commercials because you're winning. I never understand why these quarterbacks are so greedy. Like, dude, if you get the most money, they're not going to be able to pay anybody else, right?
Yeah, so to help the cap, you say take less. You're still really, really rich, but you'll be a better, successful quarterback.
You're going to have a much better team. I mean, think about it. Tom Brady is the only quarterback who didn't, quote unquote, have a great year or won a Super Bowl and didn't become the highest paid quarterback.
It's true.
And I'm like, dude, take less money and win. Tom Brady set the groundwork. That's like, yo, man, because like I say, he's going to make more money on the other end in commercials and endorsements and things like that to make up for a couple $1 million. But these guys, every quarterback, if you go back, they became the highest paid quarterback, and none of them never sniffed another Super Bowl except Tom Brady.
Chuck, would you ever go through the cleansing process that Aaron Rodgers just did?
Panchakarma.
See, that's the cool thing about being black. We don't spend all that money. Like no, seriously, black people. Hey, listen, I'm telling you, my grandmother, the greatest person in my life, she used to do that like 3 times a year, and all she would do was eat like a bunch of prunes for a week. And I was like, that's a lot cheaper. It's a lot cheaper to eat prunes.
No need for a medicated enema, right?
Hey, there's no need. First of all, if you're going to do something like that, it probably costs a fortune. But I'll tell you, as my grandmother, she said, 3 times a year, baby, eat a bag of prunes for a week. It'll keep as she used to say, it'll keep the colon rolling. I mean.
That was her own panchakarma. Her pancha
Hey,
pruna.
and listen, and my grandmother was a nurse. She knew. She says, oh, yeah. She's like, no, baby, like 3 times a year, you should get those, eat a bag of prunes for the week, and you'll be good.
Keep it natural.
Yeah.
Keep it natural.
Yeah.
Before we let you go, you mentioned greed. Are you team player or are you team owner or do you not care about the baseball lockout?
Well, I think that I feel bad for those guys because they had to go first. I've said this for the last year and a half. There's going to be a strike in every sport. Those owners, I give them credit. They paid us every dime. I'm counting myself as a player now. They paid us every single dime during the lockout in all sports. I tell people, we're the only job in the world that didn't get screwed during the pandemic. Every professional athlete in the world got paid during the lockout, even when there was no fans in the games. We got every dime we deserved. There's no doubt in my mind. Baseball just got unlucky. They had to go first. I think there's going to be a strike in every sport. These owners going to get their money back. That's just my personal opinion. I hope that I'm wrong, but I truly believe in my heart. Those owners say, okay, we paid y'all. There was not a butt in the seat. There was no concessions. There was no parking. We paid y'all every dime. Y'all going to give us some of that money we missed back. That's just my personal opinion. And I truly believe it's going to be a strike in every sport.
Even the NBA,
really
it seems like the NBA finally has great labor peace, and they understand that it's the closest thing to a partnership.
Yeah, but we haven't had a chance. The owners haven't had a chance. We haven't been one time to renegotiate the deal. Like, we have a deal in place, and I'm not sure when we can open it up again. But I believe it. Like I say, I'm first of all, I hope that I'm wrong. But I think these owners going to say, we paid y'all. Now it's time for y'all to pay us. We were paying y'all millions of dollars when we were empty stadiums. Like I say, because listen, let's be fair. I'm going to try to always be fair when we have conversations. The owners did get screwed. There was not an ass in the seat. There was no beer flowing in the stands. There was no parking. And we got every single dime that we earned that deserved. But now, in every business, there's a time when you have to negotiate again, and the people who got the most money, they can hold out a lot longer than guys.
Mm-hmm. It's an interesting thought, that's for sure. Chuck, we always appreciate you. All the best. Have a great March Madness, and we will catch up in the summertime, okay?
Thanks, Charles.
Hey, man. You know I love you guys, man. Thanks for having me. Y'all know y'all are my second favorite city, and I love you guys. Y'all be safe.
Love you right back.
Tell my boy Flom hello.
With next to Toronto again, is that what you're doing?
Yes, Toronto's my favorite city in the world. Y'all are close seconds.
Ask DeMar the difference. He'll tell you Chicago number one.
yeah, I bet.
Thanks, Chuck.
See you, Chuck. There's
Okay, thanks, guys.
the best, the Hall of Famer.
Awesome.
I mean, Hall of Fame guy, Hall of Fame player, Hall of Fame announcer.